Get out of your comfort zone. The fear that you're not confronting cannot take your life away. The game of life out there waiting for you to come out and play. I tell you, get out of your comfort zone. I know it takes plenty courage to start all over again, but patience and real perseverance could bring you positive gain. I tell you, get out of your comfort zone. Ay, 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 get out of your comfort zone.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Ooh.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Brother John Callis, for having me, for allowing me this opportunity to host the comfort zone once again. Actually, today makes it 2 months since we've started the comfort zone. We started on July the 25th. And as the song says, get out of your comfort zone. But the name of the program is The Comfort Zone. And we have a situation in this country where many people are in their comfort zone. And typically, their comfort zone is that place within the NNP's construct. Their comfort zone is that place where everything NNP is right, everything NNP is okay, and once you're not NNP, once you're not representative of the NNP, once you do not subscribe to the NNP agenda, you are wrong. And these people are in that comfort zone. That is their comfort zone. Incidentally, there are others like myself and others who have moved out of or who do not subscribe to the NNP's comfort zone. And as a consequence, we have a different perspective on things. As a consequence, we are out here speaking to issues on the comfort zone. We are out here to share with people those truths that demonstrate that the NNP ultimately is not the ideal thing for our country. So, that being said, I want to say how much of a pleasure it is for me to be able to introduce to this platform a young lady who has demonstrated in more ways than one that she does not subscribe to the NNP mantra, that she has taken a different position, that she is willing to step out of her comfort zone and to come out in the public domain and to challenge the situation, to challenge the NNP. She has challenged the NNP on different fronts. And this is the reason why it is a pleasure for me to introduce her. This is the reason why I have asked her, I have requested her presence here on the comfort zone today. And before I bring her on, I want my co-host for today and the technical operator to play that special song that I've been playing from last week, that song by Shinehead, which says, right? Yeah, which says, strive. Because we have to strive. We have to continue striving for what's good and for what's right for the country. We have to endeavor, we have to do the best that we can to make our country the best that it can be.
On your feet, brothers and sisters, good lady. How you doing? I hope you're doing fine. Brand new music, this mix up and play for the man like that and Johnny the town will say, yeah. Real keen from a record machine to the spot when all I see biggie rock and come in as I will tell you. Brand new music, this make you jump on twist, speaking of this, tell you about it.
Sometimes it's hard, but try and you make it. Believe you me. In order to achieve, go forth and take it. Set yourself free. With obstacles in your way, you may fall before you rise. But if you really want good, your nose off the run. So get up and keep your eyes on the prize. So as part of your plan, you feel your ambition, and the Almighty One as your foundation. Hey, nobody get rich and switch because that's definitely wrong. Me beg you, don't forget your friends and where you come from. If you are thief, remember God now sleep. And although you're robber man and you get well last week, you fall about the street, but you're beaten going steep because God is a silent river and you know him run deep. Throughout history, lots of great men and women went about things the old-fashioned way. They just kept on winning and winning. So strive, step up in life and go for what you know. You've got to strive, remove the doubt from out your mind and let good flow. Be not moved by smart remarks from people who think they're witty. Keep moving on, mind gotta be strong and don't indulge in self-pity. But strive, step up in life and go for what you know. You got to strive, remove the doubt from out your mind and let good flow. With obstacles in your way, you may fall before you rise. But if you really want good, your nose off the run. So get up and keep your eyes on the prize and strive. Step up in life and go for what you know. We got to strive, remove the doubt from out your mind and let good flow. Throughout history, lots of great men and women went about things
Well. Strive. Remove the doubts from out your mind and let good flow. Although I find it did not flow as smoothly as it usually does. In any event, the pleasure is mine to introduce to the comfort zone this afternoon, to introduce to Gem FM, to introduce to our listeners this afternoon, Miss Asheida Charles, a lady that I've been calling Miss Nevaen Newman. Up until recently, I even advertised her as Nevaen Newman. Good afternoon, Miss Asheida Charles.
Good
Welcome.
afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for having me. Good afternoon to your listeners and to your co-host. You're welcome.
Tell me something. Let's get started. Asheida Charles, Nevaen Newman. I put it out there as Nevaen Newman because up until that point in time, I never made that connection between the name Asheida Charles and the Nevaen Newman that had come to know on the Facebook page and that I had been interacting with on Facebook Messenger and so on. So can you give us a heads up on that one, please? And in the same breath, tell us, who is Asheida Charles? Prior to those videos that you have been putting out, what's Asheida Charles's claim to fame?
Claim to fame, I can't speak to that because I don't view it in that light. I am from Sauterne, St. Patrick, so I am a country girl, I like to say. My education background is I attended primary school, St. Patrick's Roman Catholic, secondary, St. Joseph's Convent, Grenville, and McDonald College. And then I did my bachelor's degree at St. George's University and my master's in China. I'm really a simple person, I think, down to earth. I love to eat. I love the beach. I love to read, things like that. Spending time with my friends and family is very important to me. And I am fearless as well. So if need be that I have to defend a complete stranger in person or otherwise, I'll do definitely that. I take on challenges very well. Having grew up very tough. My mom, I think she instilled a lot of good qualities in me. I think most people say, your source of strength comes from God, but I think God gave my mother so much strength that I was able to feed off of that. So I consider myself to be a very strong individual. The Nevaen Newman is a name I came up with because Nicholas Newman from Young and Restless, which is a soap opera, I was in love with him, when I was a teenager. And so I wanted to get married to him, just being crazy in my thoughts. And so that's where Newman came from. And Nevaen is really heaven spelled backwards. I like that. And so I created the name. And that's it. Yeah.
Oh,
that's me in a nutshell, really.
In a nutshell.
Yes.
So in a nutshell, recently we have seen you out there putting a variety of posts. You have put out some, a variety of video clips and so. And I want to start our conversation here by playing, having our technical operator play one of our clips. Well, it's two of them back to back. It comes from one that was called Voice of the Youth. Mr. Technical Operator, do you have this line up for me? Voice of the Youth. There's two of them, 1 and 2. If we can get started with that, let Miss Charles give us an indication of what would have driven her to do a video like that, speaking to the issues that were advocated in that clip.
Over 30 minutes was spent last night by our Prime Minister delivering a national address. And not for 1 second or 1 minute did he mention anything about boosting agriculture. He went right back on the tourism path, which he loves dearly. And for the life of me, I can't understand why that is the case. Look at the fragility of the tourism sector. COVID exposed that. I am not downplaying. I'm not downplaying the importance of tourism, but I'm saying separate the eggs now. Don't put all the eggs in one basket. What about our farmers? They've been freaking trying. I ain't hear no tap on the back. I ain't hear no encouraging words for them. They were left out. They were left out completely.
Yeah, clip 2, please.
The Prime Minister said something which really bothered me. He said people from all stratas of life reached out because they were displeased with the behavior over the weekend. I find this laughable. Why I find this laughable? Because where were the same stratas of people when their own fellow Grenadian, right, was assaulted in a prominent place in Grenada? They never said a word. They never said a word. Where were they? Where were they when Grenadians from St. David were demanding access to a beach locked up by foreigners? You see, these people, you all are too convenient. You all are too convenient.
You said a while ago, Miss Charles, that sometimes you take on battles on behalf of others. That second clip seemed to indicate that. Your first clip was taking it to our Prime Minister and comments that he made in his national address. Can you elaborate a bit on what drove you to take such a stand? Because there are other people who are in opposition to this administration, but we did not see such a clip. I didn't do such a clip. We did not see such a clip coming from other people of that ilk. What would have driven you that way? And I mean, the passion that comes with it.
Okay, so there was an incident, which I'm sure you're familiar with, that occurred in Fort Judy involving Mr. Smith, who is a Grenadian, and some people who were not Grenadian. They were not born here. Mm-hmm. And a few days following that incident, our Prime Minister had to address the nation, and then it was pulled back for whatever reason. And when he finally addressed the nation, I listened attentively because I thought he rescheduled the national address because he wanted to tweak it a bit to include a statement or two on the incident that occurred in Fort Judy. And so I listened, and when the address was over, I was in shock that our Prime Minister did not care to mention a single word or a single line to make reference to the incident. And I know he's the Prime Minister and he's supposed to be diplomatic, but he could have said a word or two. And that angered me to the core. He could have said something like, I am aware of an unfortunate incident that occurred in Fort Judy, but I will leave it in the responsible and capable hands of law enforcement to ensure that justice is done. And the fact that he ignored that incident just fueled me with rage. It demonstrated a lack of care, and the tension in our society was so high. It was boiling. And it was his responsibility to send some words of comfort to calm the nerves of people who were really upset. So that prompted me to do the first video I did. I could have just went along as I normally did and write a post and send it out there. But I wanted people to see my emotion and to hear the passion in my delivery. And hence I did that. the video from which the two clips that were just played came from followed another address the Prime Minister did, and he announced that this $1 million hotel project would be starting soon, and I was like, why are we focusing on tourism at this time? And I do not want people to get what I'm saying misconstrued. Tourism has its place. It has been a significant pillar in our economy and to lots of other economies in the Caribbean for a very long time. We know and we understand its importance. But at this time, as a result of COVID, there should not be such significant investment or focus on the tourism sector. And so I had to call the Prime Minister out because many people are scared to do so. And as a Grenadian, he's the Prime Minister of Grenada. I live here. I care about my country, and I'm sure he does as well. So I had to call the Prime Minister out on this tourism path, which he likes to be on all the time. I had to speak about agriculture because if agriculture gets the transformation it deserves, we would see our economy blooming beyond our imagination. And so to me, the lack of focus, the lack of investment, the lack of other resources in the agricultural sector demonstrate a failure on this government's part. We cannot just have a government who continues to focus on tourism. Regardless, if investors are coming into our country and they want to pick and choose what and where they should invest, then you're telling me as a Grenadian that our Grenada, the 112,000 of us, belong to investors. And I cannot accept that. So I had to speak on these things. I had to address it. It just came. I just had to do it.
Speaking of agriculture, as you mentioned agriculture, there you come from a rural community. How significant do you consider agriculture to be for the livelihood of people in your community and in your immediate environment? And are you seeing any serious efforts on the part of government to assist those persons who are involved in agricultural production?
So let me first say that I'm not an expert, and my observation will squarely be within my community or within my parish. I mean, I do travel throughout the country, but that sound
that's what I'm asking.
Right.
About
so I'm going to
community.
speak. Right.
Yes.
So my community, agriculture is absolutely significant in my community. I mean, in my parish, and by all extents, the country as well. If we and I know I've heard people are saying, oh, young people have no interest in agriculture. If there are no jobs in the service industry, in the information technology industry, in the manufacturing industry, in the construction industry, and there are only jobs in the agricultural industry, young people will grab the jobs. Young people want to make a living as well. They have financial responsibilities. They want to take care of their families. And so saying that they are not interested in agricultural jobs, to me, is insignificant. Give them the opportunities, create the platform so that they can find jobs there. Agriculture, transforming agriculture or investing in resources in agriculture will do a lot for us. It will do a lot for our farmers. We, the citizens, will get to eat healthy fruits and vegetables. It will help to kickstart the economy. Look at what industrial countries have done with their agricultural sector. They have transformed it in countries like Vietnam, Belize, and China. And look where they are. They're reaping the rewards now. I know we are not as large as they are in terms of the resources that they may have to pump into the agricultural sector, but we could try, And so now that the Prime Minister has equipped Mr. Peter David with the task of being a Minister of Agriculture, from what I heard, he is capable, diligent, and seems to have what it takes to create that transformation. So I want to give him that opportunity to show what he can do. I am expecting action. I'm not expecting a set of talk. I am expecting to see from where I sit and from where I visit, to see action, to say, oh, wow, they're finally doing something for the agricultural sector.
You mentioned about us having access to our fruits and vegetables and being healthier. I want to take you into a bit on the health issue, because that's something that you did speak to in one of your videos. So if my technical operator can play me that one on health.
Health. Okay, coming up, give me 2 minutes. There you go.
So healthcare is in shambles here. And I don't care, you could build 20 hospitals throughout the country if you like. If the services are not efficient to get people well, if the staff is not properly trained to give you the best service, it makes no sense you are building no hospitals. It makes no sense. People should be able in each parish to be satisfied with the healthcare services available at the different healthcare clinics. People should feel comfortable and confident enough to go there.
In that same video that you shared, you also spoke about an experience that you had. You spoke also about other people not having what it takes to be able to go get private treatment, and certain services not available at the government sector. Could you elaborate on that? You know, and what would have driven you to raise that specific issue, you know, as it relates to the challenges that people face?
Okay, what could have sparked that is just conversations. You know, when I have conversations with my friends or even people I don't know, health is always a focus for us in conversation, because many people can attest to having a bad experience when it comes to getting proper healthcare services here. And I must say, this is not to throw shade on any of the healthcare practitioners. I'm sure they try with the limited resources that they have to ensure that we get the best they can offer in terms of healthcare services. But I, for a long time, even in 2008, when the NDC administration formed the government, I had a problem with the healthcare services then. And I went up to the Ministry of Health, where Miss Peters, she was the Minister of Health, and I echoed my sentiments to her in her office, because I left St. Patrick to the General Hospital to get an X-ray done. And when I got there, they told me that the material, I think it's the X-ray films that they need to print so you can see your X-ray results, they're out of it. And I said, but I called, and because of the distance, I called to make sure that you had, and I was told you do. And when I got there, they were out of it. I'm saying this kind of things should not be happening. We're in 2020. And so when I speak, and I spoke of my experience as well, I had a surgery done recently, and it had to be done privately because I wasn't comfortable, going to the general hospital, having heard all the, the bad experiences people have, just the whole condition. If there is a bed available, then you get one. If not, you stay wherever you can fit. I think we could do so much better with our healthcare service. And then you're hearing stories of the St. David's Health Center, which most times is closed. And I cannot understand it. Yes, I know the government is constructing, or the Chinese, on behalf of the government of Grenada, they're constructing a hospital in St. John's. I've seen it. It's almost completed. And I'm saying, yes, you can do these things. That's fine. I'm sure the people of St. John's and surrounding parishes, they're going to welcome that. But are you going to equip it with the things we need, so that when a patient goes there, he or she is dealt with in the most efficient, effective way that he or she can walk, or they're healthy? Are we going to do that? And that's what I'm saying. We can start where we are. We have the clinics, ensure that there is an ambulance at each healthcare center, ensure that there are maybe 2 doctors or 3 doctors who can work on shifts. Nurses, we have nurses on contract. They're working 2-3 days a week. Why not employ the nurses so that they can work a proper shift? So for, we have the nurses here. Yes, some have migrated to the UK where they are where they have gotten better opportunities. And so, and I know the Minister of Health, Mr. Steele, he spoke of, us having Grenada getting nurses from Cuba or, so they need to equip all the healthcare clinics. Sometimes we don't have the money to journey all the way to the general hospital to get the care we need. So you make sure each healthcare clinic in each of the parishes and Carriacou and Petit Martinique, that these centers are equipped with nurses, doctors, ambulance drivers for those ambulances around the clock. You have to start taking healthcare seriously. And this government continues to disappoint me where healthcare is concerned. I'm not satisfied at all. Recently, to give another example, my nephew, he's 18. He needed some tests done. My mother contacted the hospital to find out. They said, yes, they can do it. He got there at 11 o'clock, he said. He sat there and waited, and then at 1:05, they told him, oh, we do not have the machine, or the machine to conduct that particular test is not working. I called when I got home. So about from 3 to about 4, no answer. No one took my call. I called the following day. No one took my call. What if it was an emergency? So I'm saying these are the little things. They may seem little to people, but if you're calling the general hospital, I don't care who you are or what you say, someone has to answer the phone. Someone has to answer the phone. Either they put you on hold or they transfer you to another department or so. Someone has to answer the phone. You cannot be calling the general hospital 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes into an hour, and no one is available to take the call. So these things bother me a lot,
I very much understand the issue that you've raised as regards some of those facilities not being adequately equipped, because I know of an instance not so very long ago where a young lady in Guelph, she died because when she got to the health center was closed. It had been advertised that it is a 24-hour service. So she expected that when she got there certain times during the night, that she would have been able to get the service that she needed. But she didn't, and there was not sufficient time to get her to the hospital. She died as a consequence of that. So we know of cases where people have actually lost their lives because those outposts are not properly equipped or are not opened when we need them to be. As you can see, I'm not a youth, and I know that when I was growing up, you could have gone to the health center at any time and there would be a nurse there to attend to you. And that was when I was growing up. That was a long time ago. We living in more modern times now, and one would expect that the services that government provided then would have been improved to the point in this day and age, especially after having gone through the period of quote-unquote the revolution. Because in my mind's eye, the revolution taught us, it demonstrated to us, in spite of its flaws, in spite of the fact that it imploded on itself, the revolution demonstrated to us what can be accomplished, the things that, practical steps that can be taken to ensure that these services are available.
I agree.
I want to touch on issues relating to opportunities, and there's a clip coming out of one of your presentations that I call opportunities. If my technical operator has it lined up there for us. that he can play opportunities for us, and we'll take it from there.
You in government, and because the man next door is an NNPite, he wife and his children, all of them on the road, cutting bush. And the person next to him, you're not sure what his or her political affiliation is. But because you know they don't support you, they get left out. Opportunities are not given to people who do not support you. And that cannot be right. So people need a change.
Opportunities are not given to people who are seen to not support the government. Now, I often speak about the whole issue of intimidation and victimization. There's many people who trivialize it. There's many people who do not appreciate the extent or the enormity of that situation and the impact that it has on people's lives, on people's opportunities, and people's survival. And not just that, on the fact that people are being coerced, people are being pressured using these government services and systems in order to do or not to do certain things. Seeing as you made that point, what would have driven you, and what are the experiences that you have had that would make you speak to that issue in this way?
Okay, from a teenage, when in my teenage years, I understood clearly the role of government or politics or political dynamics in our society. And so when I completed secondary school in 2003, by then I think the Imani program was on stream. And I applied. I tried my best to get in, get a little opportunity. You just finish school. You want to be able to do this, to do things. And so I was denied each time. And I wonder, but why? And so I would converse with my mother, and I would say every time, I would call to find out, they'd be like, no, no, no. But I'm seeing people, young people in my community, they're going to work, they're working on the DMANI program. And so myself and others, we formed the conclusion, listen, Asheida, you're not getting an opportunity because your mother supports NBC. And I'm like, what? I have never even voted. So why should I deal with that sort of victimization because of who my mother supports? And it was that experience that opened my mental framework to what the NNP stands for and to what they can do. And that has driven me to this day, right? Even scholarships opportunities. I at one time a few years ago, I got accepted into 5 different universities in the United Kingdom, and it was for the Commonwealth Scholarship, if I'm correct, right? And so I had to go through the government. I even sent an email to the governing body of the scholarship to say to them, I just might be politically victimized and may not be given the opportunity, because is there anything you can do? And they didn't reach out. That's how I know that, they would not have given me the opportunity. And when I attended the meeting, so they had an interview, there were 3 NNP operatives that I know for a fact they're NNP operatives. And one other person, I didn't know who she was. And one of the questions the NNP operative, who is a former principal, said to me is, because he's going through my resume, and he looked me dead in the eye and he said, but don't you think you're bright enough already? Why should we give you another scholarship?
Are you serious?
And so I am serious. And so I left the room even before I attended the meeting, because I said to my mother, I don't think I should go, they may not give me, And she said, no, just, go so you can know for sure. And I did not get it. They sent an email saying I didn't get it. I tried to get into teaching countless times. There's never a space. There's never an opportunity. And it's because, and they cannot tell me otherwise, it is because of well, know myself, because at the time when I was trying to get into teaching, I attended rallies of the National Democratic Congress, and I continue to share my views that I'm not a fan of the government at all. So I know that I was denied a teaching opportunity over and over and over again, not because there was no space available, but because I'm not a fan of the government. And this my story and my experiences, they're not unique. Many other persons, from police officers to the regular Janes and Joes in our country, can tell you that they have been victimized in some way, shape, or form by the NMP administration. And we have to call them out, because as a Grenadian, I deserve the same opportunity as my neighbor who is an NMPite. I am a Grenadian, and the resources that the government use to create these opportunities for their people are not coming from an NNP fund. They're coming from our tax money. And so it has to be shared equally. It's about time. They're just sitting there and even their little community, what they call it, constituency offices, even some of the people who work there, when you go there, before you enter, what's she doing here? She don't support us. And they would just marginalize you. I know of a young woman who has 2 kids, and she went to the constituency office to get some assistance, because I think they have a building materials program. So they give you the material, and I think you pay how you can or whatever. And she told me, I don't even, like, I've never conversed with her before. I was on a bus, and she said, I just want to tell you, because I see, you speak out on things. And she said when she went there, that's what they said to her. She ain't supporting us. Why is she here to beg for the materials? You see, and these things make me angry, because I think we should live in a society where things are fair. And people might say, oh, well, I'm delusional. No, I'm not. If somebody in need, I think someone in need, you should not see political affiliation. Someone in need should be given the resources they need so they can better their lives. It is simple as that. And anything other than that is unacceptable in my book. Anything other than that is unacceptable.
Miss Charles, I'm listening to you here, and what's coming to mind is some conversations that I have had with people who defend the NNP on every turn on social media. And when comments like these are made, the responses are usually, all you hate Kit Mitchell. I've been told that many times. We saw our Prime Minister recently in the Parliament of Grenada saying that people who oppose certain things, it's because they hate Kit Mitchell and they hate the NNP. It's not so much about the NNP really, it's about Kit Mitchell. Do you hate Dr. Mitchell?
Well, I listened to that clip as well, and I was kind of taken aback in a hilarious way, because I laughed. I'm just saying, right? You're the prime minister of a country of 112 or so thousand people. Now, what could get into his mental constructs that he would think each Grenadian should like what he does? You are in a democratic country, and because of that democracy, people will oppose you, because this is not a dictatorship where he thinks he owns the people and he owns the country. So people have to criticize him. People would criticize you, people criticize me. This is an everyday thing. And so when he said, to add with what you took from him in terms of his sentiment shared at the parliament, he also said that he's hearing lots of people saying this and that about him and his administration, and they are political enthusiasts. Maybe not verbatim, but something like that he said. But he said also that they won't even get more than 10 votes. Who say everyone who is speaking up against what he's doing wants to be a politician? And you see, this is too layered, because what if the same people who are speaking against some of the things that he's doing have an interest to align themselves with his political party. What will he say to that? Because some people who are speaking out are not aligned politically with any specific party, but they just may have an interest in politics and may choose the NNP because of their track record. And to answer your question bluntly, I do not hate the prime minister. How can I? I do not know him personally. I don't go around hating people. Carrying hate is a heavy, heavy load, and my heart is too pure. My heart is too pure to want to hate anyone, and for that matter, the prime minister. I do not hate him, but I cannot agree with his policies. I cannot agree with the political dynamics he has used to get into people's minds to a point where they cannot see clearly. I cannot agree with him when he victimized Grenadians because they do not support him. I cannot agree that he's willing to sell lands to foreigners so they can come here and do as they like. I cannot agree with these things. I cannot agree that he would sit there wherever he sits, wherever he stays, and look at healthcare in Grenada and sit and think it's okay. He needs to fix that. I cannot agree that he continues to use young people as tools just so he can continue his political legacy. I cannot agree with these things, but I do not hate him because I do not know him. But I cannot say I'm a fan. I'm not a fan.
Me neither. And it's interesting that you mentioned a while ago about the way the people, the operatives in those offices, the way that they treat with people. I had an experience in the run-up to the last elections where I visited the home of a gentleman who gets the home visit, the home care visits. And he had a stroke. So there's people, they paid by government, they come to his house to help. And when they came, he had a poster and paraphernalia of the NDC. And the person providing the service felt so empowered that they could have said to him, listen, if you don't take this thing down, you are going to have to get your NDC people to come to look after you. He told me so. A man who had a stroke, he's living by himself, and he relies on the government service to help to take care of him. And that was the situation with the service provider, who felt so empowered because they know that that is the way that they operate, and it is okay for them to do that, and they can get away with it, and they did. You speak about support for and standing against, and all of this is coming against our democracy and your right to vote. There is a recording that you did where you spoke about the right to vote. I want to play a clip from that day, the right to vote. If my technical operator has the right to vote set up there, we will take it from there afterwards. The right to vote.
I take my right to vote very, very serious. We have a fundamental responsibility, not just for ourselves, but for our country. This right here, right now, is challenging times. And we have to stand up against all the injustices that are going on in Grenada. Now, currently, and I've been engaged in several discussions with lots of people. Currently, the wind is not blowing in a green direction. But here's what it is not doing. It is not blowing in NDC's direction. You know why? Because NDC has a lot to do. NDC is too passive, too silent. Listen, people want an alternative. And NDC, you are the alternative. But you have to pull up your socks, pull up your pants too, tie your shoelace, and put on your belt.
Miss Charles, the floor is yours.
Okay, so the Prime Minister, his political footprint is deeply engraved on Grenadian soil, that it will take winds, the highest ever winds, to even remove it or to begin to remove it, right? But one of the most important tools that can be used to do so is your finger, in the form of voting. So I have never messed about or played around with the opportunity, the sacred opportunity to vote. Never. So the first time I voted in 2008, I did not go to NDC rallies. I attended NNP rallies with an NNP t-shirt on. Why? Because I wondered, what is causing so many people to gravitate to the NNP administration and particularly to its political leader? And I went to almost all the rallies, which and that upsetted my mother so much so that I had to get dressed by my neighbor. I couldn't dress in her house with an NNP t-shirt on. And so I attended all the rallies. I listened to him attentively. And I formed the conclusion that I cannot vote for such a party, right? So when I went out to vote, I never voted for them. And I could say this publicly. I have no fear in that. It's my right. And if I choose to vote green, yellow, or blue, it's my right. And so that's why I say it's a fundamental, we have a fundamental responsibility. And so people close to me right now are saying, well, Asheida, they're not going to vote. Next election, they're not going to vote. Who are we going to vote for? I don't want to vote for Dr. Mitchell, so who I'll vote for? And I say, you know what? If you don't vote, you don't have a voice, period. So you take what comes. And not voting is a vote for them. And so I like to encourage people to vote. And that's why I said in the same video, my 18-year-old nephew is already registered and he will be voting. Right? People have to take their right to vote serious. And you can vote whichever way you like. But I'm saying that right to vote, which was fought for by our ancestors, must be respected. That's why I use the term sacred. It's a sacred opportunity for us. We use that opportunity to decide who we're giving the job to, because it's a job we're giving them. It's not just something they're taking because they feel like we are giving them a job. And that's why I say they have to work for the people. They can't just want to do whatever they feel like because they've been in power for a certain amount of time. You're still at work for the people who voted for you. And if you want me to speak to the last bit of the clip you played, which is where I was encouraging the NDC to do more. That really, NDC is in action, not over the 2 weeks. I think over the 2 weeks they've been doing a little better. I heard a message from Persuader, which I must commend. I like the approach. I think more of the caretakers need to send messages out there, utilize the opportunities on social media platforms to get their points across. But prior to that, I just felt like NDC just, like they expect things to be handed to them. I for one, was never really satisfied with the inactive approach in all of this, particularly on issues. And so I think they're just too passive for my liking. And so it is my hope that they will do better. My mother always liked to say, you have to work for what you want. It cannot be handed to you. And so if you want to form the next government, you have to show people that you're willing to put in the work. We can see the effort and we can say, yes, it's about time they get an opportunity. And so that was the path I was on. It was really to encourage. First of all, I wanted to call NDC out for the nonchalant approaches to different things. And secondly, I wanted to motivate and encourage them to do better, because we're looking on and we want a political organization that we can use to replace the one that is there for those of us who are dissatisfied with what has been happening in our country.
As you mentioned that, I want to bring in Brother John in a little while. I know he must have something to say. He must have something to ask, and I have to bring him into that conversation. But as we're on that, based on what we have seen and what we continue to see from this administration, if you are to make a comparative analysis between the two parties when they're in office as to how they treat with people, as to the kind of governance that they offer, and how the opportunities or lack of it, how they treat with people, like when you mentioned about people who looking for scholarships, whether the how significant is the color factor when you have an NDC administration as against when you have an NNP administration. Can you speak to that?
Oh, sure. And I will start by using an example. I worked with the Ministry of Youth as an employment youth coordinator a few years ago. A few years ago. And Mr. Patrick Simmons was the Minister of Youth and Culture at the time. And I was called into a meeting by a fraction of the people who left the NDC and went over to the NNP. I was called into a meeting with some of them. And they were complaining about the fact that they're hearing on the grounds that more NNP supporters were given opportunities under the youth program. And they were not pleased with that. And I stood up in front of all of them and I said, well, on the application form we have and we use, there is a place isn't there for political affiliation. So when the forms come to our office, we look at merit and need. And I remember Mr. Patrick Simmons, he pulled me aside and he said, Asheida, I am proud of you. He said, we have to continue doing the work we're doing in the interest of the nation's youth. So there shouldn't be color. In the interest of the nation's youth mean all of the nation's youth, not a section that supported you. So if there is a need and that applicant is qualified on merit, he or she got the opportunity. I cannot see an issue in that. That person is a Grenadian. And to do so that alone, that example should give you an indication as to where I'm heading with that. So in my view, my humble opinion, I don't think the NDC, and that's the review from that period, the 2008, I can't really speak to the 1995, prior to that with Mr., George Vigilant and so. But I think they do a fairly good job in terms of, minimizing that sort of political victimization. And that's in my opinion. Now, regarding, if you could see like hardcore work that they've done in terms of transforming our economy and so on, they could have done more. But then with all the cleaning up they had to do, at one point, I remember standing up in my political science class that was being taught by Mr. Claude Douglas. And I said, you know what? People cannot really eat accountability, transparency, and good governance, which is all I was hearing about the NDC, all over, I'm like, people can't eat that. Yes, it's good because it's the change we needed in terms of that political framework at that particular time. But people want to know how their breads will be buttered. People want jobs. They want opportunities that they can uplift themselves. And I think the NDC was so caught up into cleaning this and cleaning that. And, I just felt as if that aspect got left behind, and so people can see NNP doing this and doing that and so on. They have the resources. I mean, after all, they have the Citizen by Investment program that was not available to the NDC then. So where their financial hand can reach now, NDC didn't have that, So we have to be able to balance it out by giving it a thorough analysis, and so that's my stance on it.
In the aftermath, just prior to, just after the quote-unquote carnival period, you did a video also. And I want to play a clip from that video and get, your general perspective as to what was the thinking behind it. So my technical operator is going to play one that I call Jab Concern.
And you are concerned so much about jab. You have a whole ministry and a corporation that promoted Grenada as home of 100,000 jab. So y'all want jab to come out on the street conveniently to please who? I wasn't going to play no jab, you know. I am a law-abiding citizen, but I say, you know what? I will rebel. I'm going out and play. Because pockets of the country were out in their brunches and their private parties, who on yachts, who on boats. So fair is fair. If you know me, that is how others operate. So I say, nah, if some people are immune to the same COVID you're all talking about, oh, they will get COVID if they play jab. They have COVID in the oil then? Maybe. Jab is an easy target for disobeying the so-called law and rule for 2 days. But we have government. We have a government that does not always obey laws and rules, and they do what they want and they do as they please because the people of Grenada gave them a mandate to do such, and y'all ain't saying nothing about it.
You went out protesting. You did not necessarily go to play jab. There were others who were in breach. The government has a track record of not always doing the right thing. Expound on that for us, please.
Okay, so Carnival or Spice Mass was cancelled. I agreed to that, you know, for the safety of our people and for the safety of those who usually journey to our country to play mass. But I'm listening to things that are happening, and it's like certain people are given special privileges to have different activity. Like I had a video of a minister attending a brunch, no mask, with his companion, and they're having a time. And I'm like, okay. So I planned this thing from a long time. Since Thursday, I said to my family, I will be going out on Tuesday morning in Sotez, because that's when Sotez Juve happens. We don't do anything on a Monday. We play on Tuesday. And I said, when I come back from work, I will be playing fancy mass in my costume that I wore last year. And that's exactly what I did. And to hear the Prime Minister, to listen to his take, his whole delivery, his demeanor in Parliament, lambaste the people who played a jab. I was alarmed. You know why? Because all the other years, and they can say, well, all the other years there were no COVID. We didn't have COVID at the time neither. We did not have a case of COVID at that time. So they can't come to me with that argument. You have used jab as the staple to sell our carnival products. You've used it. And so when people come to Grenada, they want a taste of the jab. And so if we decided to break a rule or a law to do such, I didn't think his behavior in Parliament was warranted. It was total disrespect. And so next year, God's willing, I will not be participating, because I do not want a government to pick and choose and tell me what I should and shouldn't do, because it's convenient to them. Next year, God's willing, if we do have Spice Mass, I will not participate in Juve, both in St. George's and in St. Patrick's. I will stay home, or if I go out, I'm going out with some sort of statement saying, I'm not participating because of so and so and so, like a protest action kind of thingy. And so I took, and even other ministers, there were another minister on the news who echoed the sentiments that she's deeply concerned for the youth of the nation. And she's disappointed that parents allowed their kids to participate. So it's either we're going to have Carnival in the future or not. Because Carnival, we have to put it in the hands of the youth. And I'm not talking here about Christians. You know, Christians have a different view. They don't support Carnival and so on. But for the people who support Carnival, and attend carnival activities, we have to put it in the hands of the youth. So you take issue with people going out and play, jab. You have a ministry and you have a corporation on the premise of jab. And that is the level of disrespect you'll give to the people who went out and played. I took issues with it. I certainly did. And the same people, the same stratas of people who he said called him or reached out, I wondered if they even picked the phone up and called him and said to him, Mr. Prime Minister, you should speak to the nation about the issue that occurred in Fort Judy. I wonder if they picked up the phone and said, Mr. Prime Minister, people are suffering in the country. Can you remove the taxes on the groceries or on some food items so that can ease up the pressure for some families? I don't think they did. So this kind of convenient, hypocritical manner some Grenadians have would always leave me very, very alarmed. And so I had to speak to those things because, like I said, they baffled me. You know, certain things in our country really, really baffle me. Certain stands, certain people, certain groups of people should take, they don't take. They're on silent mode for 24 hours, right? And then jab, they come out in full swing to attack. That was total disrespect because when you check on the benefits of Spice Mass to Grenada's economy, it is unmatched. It is unmatched. The activities from about May to August generate a lot of money and the government can speak to it because they are the ones who benefit. They benefit more than any other sector, any other group of people. The government benefits more. And so I just felt that level of disrespect should not have been accepted. It was unwarranted. And if you ask me, when Mr. Anthony Boswin labeled the people of St. Patrick as demons, I was like, wow. You know, I hope you never want the demons to vote for you. I hope you never ask. So that's my take on it.
Is that why you all took the man and put him in front of the garbage bin?
When I saw that, I laughed.
I came to Curtis that afternoon. I saw all you take the man and put him in front of the garbage bin. Brother John Callis. Here is where you come into the picture. You have to have something to say. You have to have a question to ask or something of that nature, Brother John.
Well,
let's hear it.
To begin with, I want to thank you again, Asheida Charles. I know something about this family thing because, you know, some part of my family is a Charles too, you know, from down Mount Chardonnay down there. My auntie Kathleen is a Charles, my mom, you know. So I have this Charles connection. I don't think that kind of poetical thing running in our veins somehow, you know. And I'm looking at you and I'm looking at my younger self back in the 80s. In the 70s, when I stood up when Harry Andrew got shot, and I mobilized my school to go out and demonstrate, and I could see that, looking at you, I could see that same spirit, you know, resonating in you today. I want to thank you because you are so articulate in what you do, your speech, and I'm wondering if you will come up against the anti-demand minister, you know, in the next election. I think he needs someone to counter his approach. You know, he's the one that talk about we in the diaspora, we're not living in Grenada, you know, we're just talking about what's happening. Now you're in Grenada, young Pablo in Grenada, German families in Canada, and our extended hands out there in Guam. Pablo has his own German film show from Grenada, you know, so we on the ground in Grenada. German families on the ground in Grenada. And I want to thank you so much because I want to ask you this question because you seem to be the minister in waiting for either for education, sports and culture, or the minister in waiting for legal affairs or something. I don't know where you're fitting, but there is a position for you in the next government. I don't know if NDC will take you in and groom you and and mold you and shape you into the political machinery that they would need for the North. You know, Inspector have a song about pressure from the North.
He does.
I think the South needs some pressure from the North. I think you're the ideal pressure point, you know, to push for change to happen. You know, push until something happens. Yeah, I think you're the person. I think you're the person. But I want to ask you this question. How willing are you to contest the next election?
Okay. I am not very willing, if I'm honest. I am not very willing because one does not have to be a parent, or a woman does not have to have given birth
To be a mother.
to understand the importance of loving your child unconditionally, to care, guide, protect that child. And so I don't think one has to be in frontline politics to effect or to impact change.
Right.
No, and I say this not to downplay the importance of, getting involved in politics to see real change. But if I was to look at what's in front of me, they are politicians. Some have been for 30 plus years. And what changes have they created? So, persons have said to me, well, Asheida, if you do not get involved, then how do you see, how can you see the change that you're looking for? I definitely can. Because you see, more people, and that's the issue here. Historically, only few people would call out the government who has been in leadership for 20 years. What kind of thing is that? So more people need to do so. More people need to call on the government, any government, call them out on their wrongdoings so that they can change. So I'm saying you don't need to get directly involved. I don't need to put my hands in the pot directly, but I am willing to work. I am willing to work to get people to vote. I'm willing to do what I can, in a substantial way to ensure that we see change, because I believe there is change on the horizon. I can see it. But right now, to say that I want to get myself politically aligned to take up a frontline political position, not as of today. No. If maybe I think about it, give it some more thoughts, and I give, take on also the considerations, I may. But right now, my mind is not in that direction, It's not.
My next question for you is, you make mention about working with Mr. Patrick Simmons in the youth ministry there, and giving us assistance to non-NDC personnel. And there's certain elements within that NDC party who now migrated over to the NDC, who was opposed in one sense to that. Could you then probably see that probably some of the problems that we face now as NNP operative are instrumental in ensuring that only the supporters are guaranteed assistance? You think that might be some of the sentiment that brought over to the NNP?
I don't think so. I think it has always been, before they migrated, that group of people migrated to the NNP, I think NNP has always been that way. The NNP I know, the NNP I grew up with, I think they have always been that way because that's the trend I've always seen, So I think they must have been attracted to that element or to that principle, hence they moved. But to say they brought it with them, no. I think it has always been, it's like a mole in that administration where you have to support them to get an opportunity or some sort of benefits.
I noticed that you have made a very deep infiltration into the NNP by going to the rallies, dressing like them, dressed in the green shirts and being in the rally, just to get a close-up look and understand how the machine works. And you made a decision by going to the rallies, decided you cannot vote for them. What was his thinking behind that rationale? No,
because lots of people were gravitating to the political leader and to the administration. And I am an independent thinker. So the first rally I remember attending was with my mother. She took me to an NDC rally, and when Mr. Kenny Lalsing was running on an NDC ticket, and she took me to all. So I've been to a lot of NDC rallies when I couldn't make up my mind because my mother took me with her.
Right.
So when I got to that position where, I do my own thing, I thought, I should be able to form my own opinion, on some in-depth analysis to decide who I should vote for. And so I had to attend the rallies. I can't just sit by and listen to what people are saying. So I attended the rallies so I can hear their messages, so I can see them, I can, assess and analyze them the best way I can. And that's what I did. It was necessary for me to be there, to be a part of that environment, to get a taste of the climate. And I wasn't happy with it.
Great. My next question to you is, what message do you have for the youth of Grenada, and especially those of your constituency? There is this new organization, GUM, the Grenada Movement for Change. I think
Grenada United Movement.
What message do you have for them and the youth population, in particular those of your constituency?
Okay, well, to the youth in my constituency, I would tell them they need to focus on what they need. I think we have to get out of that mindset where politicians tell us what they think we need and then they don't deliver. So they come with their big speeches, their promises, this and that. And so they get you to vote for them because they think what they've just told you is what you need. And then they don't deliver and no one holds them accountable. So I'm saying to the young people in my constituency, in my parish, look at our parish. What do you see that needs developing? What do you see that's lacking? One of the things I can tell you that's lacking in my community and makes me upset each time is the lack of a library. We have a building there, but it's dilapidated. Nothing is happening there. It's just there. We need a resource center and a library together. Lots of people in my community, they do not have even electricity. So that means no internet, no access to computer. You know how things are operating, or everybody doing things online, education, and so everything's happening online. Learning is happening online. And so we need a resource and a library, a resource center and a library in our parish. So young people, I think that should be the mindset. You look at what you need and we tell them what we need. No more with politicians coming and tell us what they think we need. We have to tell you. It's about time we start telling them. So that's a step. And young people need to register to vote. If you don't vote, you don't have a voice, period. Use and exercise your right to vote. That's the only way you can impact change. So these two things, I think, going forward, I mean, yes, right now, things are not very good economically. And so some people are really, really struggling. And if I was to give them some sort of hope, that's a difficult thing, because where do they go for that hope? Where do they go if they're in need of some sort of financial assistance? Lots of young people these days are parents, and they're unemployed. There's no like food bank as they have in the States and other developed countries that they can access if they need help. So they always have to go to a politician's office or a politician's house to get some sort of assistance. But I'll say, hold on, things must get better. Eventually things must get better, but that better rests on one finger. So register yourself to vote so you can make that change that we and our country desperately need.
Right. You made mention also that, and we have heard this talk before here, and it's a general consensus of the world that politicians work for you. They are your employee. If the politician does not deliver within the election year, would you see it fit to, as a young generation who voted a certain politician in power, you represent the people in your constituency, you're not fulfilling the mandate under which he campaigned on that people vote for him for? Would you support having a petition to have that minister recalled or to lose his job because he's not doing the will of the people that he had promised to deliver for them? It's like Blackstein had a song here talking about, you just say things to get me in bed, the marriage. I know I'm in the house with you. You're not fulfilling your promise to me. Now you have to leave. Would you support a petition after evaluation of evaluating the performance of the ministers involved to have them removed or recalled?
Most definitely. If I hired you to to do a job for me and I'm not happy with it, one, I'm telling you about it. That's just the type of person I am. I may not even pay you because I'm not happy with the service you give. Now, if you went out as a candidate and promised things and you did not deliver, I wholeheartedly think you should step down. So I had the thought that maybe they should start having deputies. So if you're running for St. Patrick's East, you need a deputy. So when you're not performing, we cancel you out and the deputy takes over. This sort of lack of representation we're getting from most of our MPs. I think we can't continue to accept that. Yes, I understand some are working. Case in point, Miss Delma Thomas, she's receiving lots of praises, and I understand she does not practice this political victimization. I don't know, I'm not in her constituency, but from conversations I've been having. And so, but for those who are not matching that representation that the people deserve, I think they should forfeit their role and find something else to do, and give it to somebody who can do the job.
Now, I have been a member working alongside the NDC in the previous government, and where do you call upon them and you're trying to motivate them to pick up the slack, to be more voiceable, be more involved, to be more candid about their involvement, and more pressure, to put on the present government and to attack them from every front. What would you say to the leading executive? And I'm sure they're listening today. To them, what do you say to them today?
Well, the leading executive, I would say, they need to get their act together. As it stands now, what they are feeding the public is nothing. It's like vapor, and they should be that arm or that body of people that shows up for the leader, Miss Franca Bernardine, because she cannot do everything herself. Right. So you have an executive, they know what the issues are, and so they can seek expert opinion, or sometimes it's not even expert opinion, common sense. Use more common sense and form solutions. And you see, the issue, I do not want us to get to a place where we are calling out issues and problems and there are no solutions. So they are fully aware of what the issues are in our country right now. So they need to go out there, pong it, make sure the issue is embedded in the minds of Grenadians, and then furnish us with the solution. So this is what an NDC government will do. And that will resonate. So if the Prime Minister was to call election in another year or 2 years, when people are, getting ready to vote, they'll remember, listen, healthcare is in shambles, but listen, NDC told us that they would do this and that to fix it. And they will remember these things, but you have to start now. You have to start grooming our minds mentally so that we're in that place where we are aware of the problems, but NDC has solutions. We don't just want to hear problems. We want to hear, what is NDC plan to do this? What is the solution NDC would use to correct this? So I think that's the approach they need to start taking.
Right. Very good. Very good. I'm very, very much impressed. What next for Asheida? What next for you?
What's next for me? I'll continue being myself, doing what I do. I love my job, so I do it with a great sense of pride. And I will continue definitely calling things out. Yes, the NMP operatives are out there. I see they post their comments and say things, all sorts of things. But I am not shaken, because you see, they have never had a person call them out, and it was more or less unexpected. You see. So I will continue doing that. Certain issues, I don't want to have an opinion or a voice on every issue. It has to be something that I'm really passionate about. It has to be something that I myself think needs correcting. And so I'll continue calling things out. I am willing to work. I am willing to work for change, because I think change is what we need in our political landscape. So I want to continue working and continue seeing how I can help in a substantial way so that change is realized for my country.
2 more questions for you. In the light of your constituency, Mr. Boswin, if you had to meet Mr. Boswin now, what would you say to him?
Biting lip. Well, well, I mean, I know Mr. Boswin, and I think he's a good person. Good in the sense that I've seen ways in which he has helped, families, and so I know persons who are in permanent, positions because he gave them the jobs, and though they may be NPIs or whatever, that's good for them because they have an opportunity to empower themselves and to be independent. So he must have good intentions. I mean, he has been serving us for 20 or so years. So, I mean, clearly he's doing some things right. So, and I have conversed with him in on other occasions. So if I see him, I have to call him out most definitely on the label he gave the people of St. Patrick in Parliament as demons. I would like to know, why he had to use that word. But most importantly, I want to know why he had to go and apologize on our behalf. I mean, the people in Guav played mass for 2-3 weeks. I didn't hear Mr. Dabrio make an apology in Parliament for his people. So why the need that, you had to go the distance to make an apology on our behalf and to top it up, label the people as demons? So I would have that conversation with him, one. And I would also use the opportunity to tell him that Grenada is not NNP owned. Because in my opinion, I feel that's, and to be honest, that's the kind of a demeanor I see in some of the NNP, parliamentary representatives. When they appear on TV, they have this demeanor that brings across a certain arrogance. Yes. And Grenada is not yours. And I think they have to understand, and then you are there to serve and to serve the people. And if for whatever reason you're failing, you need to step out and step aside. Right. So I'll have that kind of, so my conversation would be in that kind of a context. I must call him out for what he did in Parliament, and then I'll take it the distance like I just spoke of,
Right. The final question for you from me is to do with the Prime Minister. You have listened to the Prime Minister's speeches over and over. You have made comments to the effect of what he has said. If you are to confront the Prime Minister on a face-to-face, what are the messages that you will deliver to the Prime Minister to help better improve the lives of the people of Grenada Carnival and Petit Martinique as it relates to our healthcare? I think you're something you've been very passionate about. And they say everything rises and falls on leadership. All right? So what would you say to the leader of the country for the health and the agriculture sector? Because he is the head of everything. So what would you say to the Prime Minister? If you have to have a face-off with the Prime Minister, one-on-one, what would you say to him?
Well, first, the Prime Minister said when he delivered the address about the cabinet reshuffle, he said that, he wants to give the ministers an opportunity to have different experiences. They shouldn't be in and he said, especially if they've served in one ministry for too long. So my question to him is, don't you feel you've served in the capacity as Prime Minister for too long? I would ask him that. You've been there for so long. You've been there for so long. Don't you think, I would want to know, aren't you fed up with it? Or, it's beginning to come across as though this is very communist-like, very authoritative. I would go down that line with him. Now, regarding agriculture, of course, I have to tell him he has not been doing enough. He has not been doing enough because he continues to place so much emphasis on tourism. And at this time, tourism should not get that kind of investment and that sort of resources. Tourism, I'm not saying we have to put this on the back burner or so, but for now, that shouldn't be the focus. Focus on agriculture and transforming the sector so that farmers can earn a living, and because our economy needs a kickstart. And I will encourage him to use agriculture to kickstart our economy, which is not in the best shape, as a result of COVID, of course. Health, I can't finish speaking about health. Because if I am sick and I don't have the finances, I would resort to using the public sector. People in my community, any Grenadian who is sick right now and needs assistance, we want to make sure that they get the best health care possible. And as it stands now, our people cannot get that. They are denied the best healthcare services because we have a failing public healthcare system. I would ask him to address that. I would ask him to fix it as soon as he can. I would also ask him to take some of the CBI money and pump it into healthcare. Stop building billion and million dollar hotels. What's that for? I'm talking about room stuff. We have enough room stuff. We've been having enough room stuff. Use that and focus on other areas. I want him to do that. And I don't want him to forget us. Us meaning me, people who oppose him. I don't want him to think we hate him. You know, he's a Grenadian. We should love and appreciate him. And I appreciate what he's done for all this long time. But I am beginning to have enough of it. You know, he needs to do something else. I mean, you know, he's always in the gym looking fit and fine. Enjoy life, take some vacation, give Grenada a break. That's what I'll say to him. Give us a little break. You know, take a break from this political life that you enjoy. You know, it's filled with luxury. So this is the path I'll take with him, and I want to encourage him. I want to encourage him to stop selling. Stop selling us. Stop selling our lands. Stop doing that. It's not going to benefit us in the long run. If you need to do something, lease it for 9 years so that some generation, my kids' kids can say, listen, this is ours. When you're selling it out to all these foreigners at the expense of us, I can't support that. I cannot support that.
All right, so that's my that's all my questions for you for now. Pablo, we got about 50 more minutes to go, something like that. So
okay.
Let's I mean, I don't want to stop.
I know we can go on and on and on. But there's a couple.
I hope you could come back another time and be on the show, hopefully, and Talking Point. We'll be more than happy to have you on Talking Point one Friday night as well. You know, so Pablo have the connection, so we could always have you back. Go ahead, Pablo.
Yes, seeing as you just ended on conversation with the Prime Minister, and Ms. Charles has spoken extensively about going to NNP rallies and so on. I want you to play for me a clip where she speaks about promises, and we'll take the conversation from there afterwards.
Promises.
Yeah, the promise.
Promise? Okay, got it.
Yes, the promise.
A party with the intention to form the next government had massive rallies and made several promises to the people. Massive rallies and made several promises to the people. One has yet to be fulfilled, and nobody calling on them to honor those promises made.
Nobody's calling on them to honor the promises made. And what we experience oftentimes is that when people like yourself, when people like myself, when people like John Caliste and those guests who we usually have on those people on the panel, on his panel, on the Talking Point, the Kem Joneses, and so on, when they speak about those issues, about those promises that's been made, you find the supporters of the NNP, they behave as though, well, it is all well and good. He can, people say anything at election time, you know, because it's vote they want. What's your take on that? I mean, why we are in this place that we are at when people are willing to accept more or less any and everything from the Prime Minister?
I think it's mere manipulation, really, because politicians go out there, right, to generate votes so that they can occupy the powerful positions they're in, particularly when they form government. You know, they do as they like and so on. And thus far, I don't think people hold them accountable. And so it's like a, it's like a, it's like a disease that spreads, because if they did it, let's say at 1 o'clock, and at 5 o'clock they did not deliver, they do it again at 6, and they didn't deliver at 12, and nobody calls them out, guess what? They'll continue doing it, because it's a path, and history would show us that this government will always make promises that they either never keep, or they form some excuse to say why they didn't keep. Case in point, the tablets. When I heard the announcement, I said, how will you provide tablets to all these students? And now they deliver the tablets with all sorts of conditions, and the tablets are not free. You have to pay for them. You see what I'm saying? I'm saying it's a culture. It's a culture that continues to breed ground, because like you rightly said, supporters will say, oh, they just say that to get votes. No, you can't do it like that. I said to my friends and to my family, any political rally I attend for the next election, I will be going with paper and pen. I will be making notes, taking notes of the promises that they're making, so that we can hold them accountable. We have to hold them accountable and stop with the promises. I should not have even used the word promises. Actions is what we need. We need actions. We need solutions. This promises, no. We have to forget about these promises. Tell us what you will do and when. And that's why
You've muted yourself. No, you're still muted. You're muted. Yeah, you're back.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, we're hearing you now.
Right. So I said that I do not want the NDC to go there and say, for example, oh, the NMP government promised that you will get oil and gas. And no, don't tell us that. Tell us that you, as an organization, did your research and you have concluded that we have oil. So if we have oil, you tell us we have contacted this company to extract the oil. It will be done on this date at this time, and these will be the results. So this is what we will get as a people. This is what we will give the contractors, and so on and so forth. We want solutions. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm expecting from our politicians. That's what I'm tired with the promises that they don't keep, and they're not held accountable. You mentioned Kem Jones, and I want to give him some credit, because he continues to press on the issues, and we have to appreciate that. I've said a long time ago, without Kem Jones, let's just take him out of the equation. Where would we hear the real issues? We can hear them here. But let's remove him from from the whole media landscape, and we remove your program, and we move, the other little programs that may go there. Then because the
thing about it is Kem Jones is in your face every day.
Well, that's what we need.
Kem Jones is in your face every day, morning and evening. So
we can't trust the media. We can't trust mainstream media to give us that delivery.
Right. Speaking about media, there's a clip on media there that I want to play. Mr. Charles, Mr. Kalis, let's hear that clip on the media.
All right, here it comes.
Yes.
Because forget about the media. They don't gone clarity. Forget about them. The only one I could really take on is MTV. Because they try. But forget about the others. Papi show right through. You can't get real issues being covered properly. Everything is on the surface. And if the story goes against the government, they ain't bringing it, period.
So if the story goes against the government, the media don't bring it?
No, they don't. Oftentimes they don't. You see, for example, they'll show us construction or the refurbishment of a school, but they won't bring the school in, looking really dilapidated and without windows, and they wouldn't show that. Mainstream media has an agenda. They have proven to have an agenda. The only time they didn't prove to have an agenda, well, they had an agenda, but it was not in support of the NDC government. That's for sure. If NDC sneezed too hard, they'll bring it. to demand an excuse or an apology.
Right.
You know, but this government does whatever it does, and I don't hear them pressing when they have the press conferences. Well, I've stopped looking really, because it leaves me just almost depressed. Ask the real questions on real issues. Like I said, this kind of poppy show questions they ask them, it's like, who they think they're speaking to? You're speaking to the people tasked with the responsibility to manage our country's affairs and state resources. So press them for answers. We deserve answers to questions. And we can't depend on them. We can't trust them.
You know, as you made that point, something comes to mind. More than a year ago, in a press conference, our Prime Minister spoke about a facility in St. Patrick, in Snell Hall, that was refurbished, and people were trained to do furniture and stuff like that. And up until recently, when I checked, yes, the place had been refurbished, but no, it's not even outfitted, much less to have trained anybody. And interestingly, the media has not followed up on it. They have not gone and brought this story to say, well, look, the Prime Minister said that, you know, that facility was outfitted and it has trained people, but it's empty.
But what stories do they follow up on, sir? Do they follow up on any stories?
No, you don't get that kind of approach from our media, which is what they are supposed to do in terms of enlightening people on issues. We had another situation that you spoke to, and there's a clip from it that I call the bill. So if my technical operator can play for us the bill, so that you can, yeah, right there.
I listened to the Attorney General, who is still on, giving his perspective on the bill. Well, not necessarily the bill, but the fact that many Grenadians stood up against it, right? And this is just my opinion, I simply feel as if he's trying to pacify the situation when the damage has already been done. Historically, our government continues to more or less do things before behind, right? The right thing. And I don't care who you are or what you say. The right thing should have been for the government to come out and have a little bit of consultation with the public. And so now that we've been exposed, right, to the contents of the bill, and many conscious-minded people say, but no, what are they trying to do? No, we cannot have this. What is going on in Grenada? What about our rights and freedom? So now that all these questions have surfaced, you all come out and say, and I hear a host this morning say, they're trying to make people understand the bill. Last night in conversation with my friend who is a strong NNP supporter, she said to me, well, we have postponed the bill because they realize as a government or as a party that Grenadians misunderstood the contents of the bill. That is not so. I don't know what y'all think, but a lot of Grenadians took time to read the bill, though we did from an amateur perspective, but we took time to read the bill. And I didn't just take time to read it, I took time to also go through and evaluate commentary on the bill. So I think it's an insult to Grenadians for anyone to conclude that Grenadians oppose the bill because they did not understand it. It is not fair to our intelligence as a people. It is not fair.
It is not fair to our intelligence as a people. That bill, it was not tabled, can't say withdrawn, it was not tabled. What's your take on the bill in general, and what do you anticipate going forward?
My take on it from a general stance is that we first have to look at why the bill wasn't tabled, and it was not tabled because we stood up as we should have. because such a bill deserved, such a bill deserved public consultation, which was not done. And so we have to wonder why they did not consult the public when they were trying to do something. When they came with the referendum, they had sufficient consultation. They were everywhere trying to persuade us to vote this and that. I went in and I voted no for everything. I voted no for everything. So what I'm saying is, where was that level of consultation? And then they might say, well, because of COVID, we couldn't meet and gather. Then put it out there on social media. Let's debate it. Let's do Zoom. Let's do this. There are lots of other avenues they could have used to ensure that the consultation was done so that we were educated enough on as to why the bill was necessary. That to me was the important thing here. Why was such a bill necessary in a country with 0 COVID cases? COVID control, the word control here is significant as well, because there was no COVID, but yet we were trying to bring about a COVID control bill that infringes on rights and freedom that the NNP and the government did not even fight for. These rights and freedom that we enjoy, they had nothing to do with it. So why are you going to initiate such a bill and you're about to take it to Parliament without us knowing? That's very questionable.
Very questionable.
And so going forward, I am expecting a full withdrawal of this bill. It has no significance in our society. I cannot see the benefits it will have for us at this time. And so I'm expecting them to withdraw the bill. And any day they're going to table it, any day they're going to pass it, it will highly be rejected by the people. I, for one, will be front and center to protest such a bill. That's a guarantee. That's a guarantee.
Understood by the Grenadian public. You had lawyers, Mr. Carrington Hood, Mr. Sylvester, among many others. Are you saying that they don't understand the bill? That's lawyers who qualified and contested the authenticity of that bill. How, in effect, I mean, the sort of damage that this bill could do to an ordinary Grenadian person. I mean, look at it. $25,000. How much Grenadian persons have $25,000 in their possession? Right? How could a police officer see me and determine I have COVID? An immigration officer who, 1 year in prison plus $25,000 plus the confiscation of property. I mean, what is not to be understood? And you don't have to go to a judge, a magistrate who is appointed by the Prime Minister could determine if you go to jail or not. And then, if you're a political activist, the leader of the opposition, and they assume that you have COVID, and you say, okay, I don't have it, and you put out resistance against the police, you could be brought to before the magistrate, charged $25,000, put in prison for 1 year. They could call an election within that 1 year, and you have no place. So they could win an election by default. Because there's no opposition. You could pick up all the opposition leaders and put them in prison and say, look, they violate the curfew, they violate such and such. They take their vehicles, they can't have rally, they confiscate their property for having open rallies. They could take their property. I mean, this is the kind of thing that...
And that's a consequence. These are consequences of absolute power.
Yes.
You see, when you have absolute power, it gives you that kind of zeal that you think you can do such a thing. You know, so it fluids you up to a point where you think, yeah, I can do that and get away with it. Yeah. It's not going to happen. Yeah. It's not going to happen.
So that is for me. I mean, for my legal mind as well. When I got it, I realized, look, And I read it and I said, no. That can happen in Grenada. You know, that would not be happening, you know. So I called the relevant persons and we had a discussion. And then Pablo brought in the next week, brought in Mr. Kajitan Hood, and we talked about at length to the bill. I think Grenada need to study their constitutional laws.
Exactly.
Seriously, they need to do some work on that. You know, civics should be taught in school so children could learn about the constitution and how laws are made in the country. So when they see something
and know what's in the constitution, we have to know. I mean, I have mine at home. We need to know. You know, I think more of us need to have that knowledge as to what's in our constitution, so we know what's acceptable and what's not acceptable by the authorities.
Right.
So I agree with you. It should start in school. You know, they need to be educated on it in school.
Man, this is taught in the school here in Canada. I've been to it, so I know. You know, you have to do it, man. You have to do it. The people will be forever be at the mercies of some politician that just come in and want to be and do what they want to do. All right, Pablo.
My final question before I ask Miss Asheida to wrap up. I want you to play the final clip for me.
Which one?
I call it Grenadianism.
Okay. It is.
When discussing it the other day, somebody said, "Oh, but y'all have to remember how these foreigners they have spent millions of dollars on their diplomatic passports and on their citizenships and this and that, and we would never as Grenadians be able to give the government that kind of money." Well, excuse me. Listen, the amount of money they have spent on their diplomatic passports or on their citizenship is here. Not here too long. Right here. But you see our naval strings right here. It's no match. They're not on the same wavelength and will never be. And if you are a true Grenadian, you have to ensure that that is implanted in your mind. No amount of money any foreigner spend for anything should be able to match your Grenadianism.
Do you think that our Grenadianism is under threat, and what are some, what is happened, or what has happened, or what would you say is happening that you can consider to be a threat to our Grenadianism?
I think our Grenadianism is slightly under threat, and the word "slightly" here is key, because the majority of Grenadians will not allow that sort of threat to foster. And so I think they will defend it with all their might. And what I think threatens it slightly is foreigners who are positioned in such a way, financially speaking, and because they hold a Grenadian passport that they purchased by investment, they have a sort of disregard for the Grenadians who were born here, whose naval strings were buried here. That sort of disregard leads to disrespect. It leads to them erecting signs on beaches, our beaches in our country, signs that bar us, that prevent us from accessing. That's the threat. They are welcome to come here. I mean, there are lots of Grenadians all over the world, who hold passports, I'm sure, of these countries and so on, right? But the Grenadians who are out there don't go about erecting signs. I am 100% sure if a Grenadian is a citizen currently in Barbados and has a prime piece of property on a beach, he or she will not erect a sign to prevent Bajans from going to that beach. And so they need to have respect for the people here, because they're threatening us. They're threatening what we can and cannot access. We will not have it. We will not have it. They're welcome to come here and, do what they do, enjoy it as much as we do. but please do not prevent us from accessing our beaches or any other natural resource that our island is blessed with for us to enjoy. That is significant. They can mix and mingle. You pay for a passport, okay, so well, so what? You know, use your passport, do what you do. But don't think because you are of a certain complexion or because you are of a certain race that you are more Grenadian than me. It can't work. So they need to understand that. We are peaceful, loving people. You know, we welcome foreigners, as you know, with open arms. But the minute time they begin to disrespect us and to disregard our citizenship, it becomes very problematic for me as a Grenadian who is very proud of my nationality. And so I will not accept, or I will not sit idly by and just look at a foreigner who holds a Grenadian passport be disrespectful to another Grenadian or to claim, or you could claim a beach that you came and met here. You know, these things are unacceptable. So I would use this to say this is the threat I think part of our Grenadianism sort of face. But I think we're strong enough. We are resilient enough to deal with it in a certain way to ensure that we embrace it some more. You know, it gives us that opportunity so we can embrace it and show more appreciation for our Grenadianism.
60 seconds, Miss Charles. Any parting words?
Well, I just want to thank you and to thank the technical operator for the opportunity. I liked the conversation and the dialogue. I liked where it went. I think you guys asked some really, relevant questions that I felt comfortable responding to. And thank you for having your platform and to encourage you guys to continue doing what you're doing. And I want to thank the listeners, of course, for listening.
Well, I want to take the opportunity to say thanks to you for accepting the request to be here. And every person, every individual who accepted the request to come on the comfort zone, they do me a great service. They do the Grenadian people a great service. And I believe in the 2 months that we have been going, our reach has begun to extend, and it's most so because of people like you making yourselves available to be here. And I would hope that in the event that we call upon you again, as Brother Kali said, the invitation is open for you to be part of his panel or with his talking point, and it would be a pleasure to have you again. So thank you very much. And
thank you very much.
Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. You too. Okay,
yes,
bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you to all of our listeners. Thank you to all of our viewers out there. And I hope that you will join us again next time on the Talking Point. As you've been told before, I am based on Diamond Street in Victoria, St. Mark. And let me tell you something. St. Mark is usually considered one of those economically depressed communities. And you heard Ms. Charles speak about in her constituency, in her community, there's many people, some don't have electricity, some, the children, they don't have wireless access so that they can do this stuff. There's a group of teachers that I work along with in this community here. They have put together what they call the St. Mark COVID-19 essay competition. So that's out there. Encourage your child. There's 3 different categories, 7 to 9, 10 to 12, and 13 to 15. They have the different topics and so. And we're looking to give prizes to the first, second, and third in each category. And also, every participant will go away with something. Right? So we're looking for your support. If you're out there in the diaspora, you are St. Mark citizen, by birth, you're a member of the St. Mark community. We look for your support and your contribution. You can reach out to Mr. Bristol. Mr. Bristol is the head man on that front. You know, I'm just a spokesman. I only assist to the coordinating and so on to make this thing happen. All right. Very soon you shall be seeing a Facebook page that will be up and pushing that event, and other efforts are on stream to make things happen in this community. So once again, thank you very much, and thank you, Brother John, for providing me with such an opportunity.
All right, thank you, Pablo. Again, I go for the Pablo zone here.
You
Thank you so
you
much.
can't help it. You can't help it.
Thank you so much. You know, and
Can't you tell who that did that to you?
yes, yes. But again, folks, this is Gem FM in Grenada, Gem FM radio extension in Grenada through Mr. Raphael Paul, and those of you know Uncle Pablo. You know, this is Gem FM link on the mainland, and we're looking to have to spread our wings beyond Grenada, in the United Kingdom. So we're in the United Kingdom, we wish to have a show. And Gem FM is more than willing to facilitate you and to give you your own show on Gem FM. So again, we open to everybody, anybody to come in here and let us have a conversation. Like Pablo have in Grenada, let's have one in England and the United States with the Gem FM affiliate. All right. So again, thank you very much, Pablo, and keep on keeping on. I really do.
Talking point later.
Talking point at 8 o'clock. We're talking about legalization of marijuana and removing the Queen as head of state of Grenada, Carnival Queen, Martinique as well, and the rest of the Caribbean. All right. So the comfort zone, guys, every Saturday from 1:30 until 3 o'clock. But we, you know, as we always give the extra hour or so to do. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's good conversation, and we have people here. And I just have to get out of here right now because I have to run. But thank you very much, Pablo. And Guav, good night. My family is from Guav, a lot of them from Guav. So again, have a good night, a good afternoon to all the Guav people. Sodes, I'm from Lutong, Sodes. Again, Sodes people, good afternoon to you. And you know, when the teacher come, make sure you do some for me. I need some.
All right. All the best. All right. Thanks.
Inspector.
Okay, bye-bye. Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
This is it, man. Comfort
Get out of your comfort zone. The fear that you're not confronting cannot take your life away. The game of life out there waiting for you to come out and play. I tell you, get out of your comfort zone. I know it takes plenty courage to start all over again, but patience and real perseverance could bring you positive gain. I tell you, get out of your comfort zone. Ay, 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 get out of your comfort zone. I know that you have greatness in you. So, get out of your comfort zone. Ay, 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 get out of your comfort zone.
That's right. Bless up.
To unite, it's the only way we will win the fight. I'm reaching out to you, reach out to somebody too. We have to join hands and fight for the cause. We have to hold some strength and prove our love and trust. It's time we know our nation future depends on us. jobless situation is really frustrating indeed, especially for young school leavers who are really in need. After all these years of school, now you finish, you want money. You apply for a job, all you hear is no vacancy. You decide you can't take this thing no more, no. So you choosing the easiest way to go. Now you turn to prostitution and crime, Lord. You start using drugs and you lost your mind. But breaking the laws really does not solve the problem we face. All he do is bring shame and disgrace on Grenada face. And falling victims to this devilish thing are not so nice. Because in the end we will pay the price. I'm reaching out to you. Grenadians, be good and true. And that's the only way we will rise. We have to hold on tight. We really got to unite. It's the only way we will win the fight. I'm reaching out to you. Reach out to somebody too. We have to join hands and fight for the cause. We have to hold some straight and prove our love and trust. Each time we know our nation future depends on us. Hey! Bidu, papa, mi na 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 do. La da 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 do. I firmly believe that we show some good chances down the journey, some opportunities that might never come back again. Don't take our land for granted and joke with freedom. Some will disagree with me and say that I'm wrong, but my intention I am setting clear. Yes, put your best foot forward to get somewhere. We could make this land number one. With dignity and pride if we show concern. I hate anything if it deals with corruption. I hate anything if it deals with destruction. Don't sit and ask yourself what the country could do for you. Ask what you can do for the country too. Alright? I'm reaching out to you. Grenadians, be good and true. And that's the only way we will rise. We have to hold on tight. We really got to unite. It's the only way we will win the fight. I'm reaching out to you. Reach out to somebody too. We have to join hands and fight for the cause. We have to hold some straight and prove our love and trust. It's time we know our nation future depends on us. Badabadam, bidodom-dom-di-dom-dom-dom-dom. Da-da-da-da-da-da-do. Marion. Woo! The political situation, of course, has a part to play. We must not let politics and party lead all on the street. Don't sit and ask yourself what the nation could do for you. You have to get up, my brother, and do for the country too. Political system tearing all on the apart. Yes. Time we get away selfishness from we heart. The country future is now at stake. Yes. It's time we learn from our past mistakes. And to all you JCB here,
get out of your comfort zone. The fear that you're not confronting cannot take your life away. The game of life out there waiting.
And them Indian controlling already. Yes, I'm reaching out to you. Grenadians, be good and true. And that's the only join hands and fight for the cause. We have to hold some straight and prove our love and trust. It's like we know our nation future depends on us. Woo!
Coming up next, singing Kaiso for many years now. Always making it to the finals. Always knocking at the door. He's coming up next to do a song called